Good morning, this is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for November 25th around 10:30 a.m. The Atlantic hurricane season is wrapping up and will end on November 30th. Tune in to hurricanecity.tv on November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll go over Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Isaac. Those are the two big stories of the 2012 Atlantic hurricane season. We ended up with 19 named storms, but those were the two big ones, and we're going to talk in depth about those, especially Sandy. That was the biggest story of the year. Huge disaster for the Northeast. We'll get into all the ramifications of that, especially the sea level rise situation, which is of great concern, and we'll talk about that this Friday, November 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss it. Anyway, here is a water vapor image of the current situation in the Atlantic Basin right now, and you can see that looking at this shot right here, there's really no way anything can develop right now because what you have is strong westerly winds. You can see these streaks in the satellite picture. I don't mean to simplify it that much, but that's basically what it is. Streaks of wind in the upper layers of the atmosphere that blow the tops off the thunderstorms and does not allow anything to develop out here, and that's exactly what we have. Nothing but troughiness out in the Atlantic. Normally this time of the year you like to look down in the southwest Caribbean for development, or out in the Atlantic. Sometimes they develop off cold fronts and head out into the North Atlantic. Right now that's just not going to happen. I think we're going to end up the season with 19 named storms, and that'll do it for the 2012 Atlantic hurricane season. Now you ask yourself, how big was Sandy? I have a page at Hurricane City called howbig.htm. How big were they? Size does matter. Now, on this page, which is linked right now on the front page of Hurricane City, right above the tracking map, there's a link to the How Big page. There's also a link in the drop-down menus at any time during the year if you want to take a look at this page. But it starts out with all the significant past hurricanes going all the way back to the early part of the 1900s. And talks about all the size based on, these are based on the advisories and the Hurricane Hunter reports and or newspaper articles at the time that they were at their biggest size. And each one is graphically shown here as to how big it was next to the state of Florida. This is not where they were located, but just to give you a reference, next to the state of Florida, you see Hurricane Charlie and the 1935 Labor Day hurricane, Hurricane Andrew. Those were all small, what you would consider small hurricanes next to the state of Florida. I mean, we're talking, only a few counties here are within the hurricane force wind field, or maybe even two counties at that, next to the state of Florida. But you go all the way down, of course, we can't go over every one of these, but you look at some of the bigger ones, and that would be Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Allen, Hurricane Ike, Hurricane Gilbert, and then the biggest one right now as far as the wind field size would be Hurricane Sandy, and there it is next to the state of Florida. It dwarfs, the tropical storm force wind field dwarfs the state of Florida. It goes well beyond all the borders of the state of Florida, but the hurricane force wind field is not really any bigger. In fact, it's a little bit smaller than it was for Gilbert and Ike. But this was an expansive tropical storm force wind field that reached all the way up into the northeastern United States, caused a lot of damage because of that large fetch of water that moved inland as Sandy came ashore. But past this page around, it's pretty interesting to see the size of Sandy compared to the next biggest ones, Hurricane Gilbert and Ike. You got to ask yourself, is this a trend? Are we going to start seeing bigger, larger hurricanes due to global warming? And the fact of the matter is that we have a situation where seems like the last 10, 15 years that we've been tracking these storms, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the storm surges are working their way in much easier due to sea level rise. This is a big concern, and again, I'm going to talk about this much more in depth on the end of season broadcast this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Also wanted to remind you that the current feature remains Atlantic City, New Jersey, next to the tracking map on the front page of Hurricane City, and this is the area's hurricane past, and you can get a lot of interesting information about Sandy down in the direct hit section for Long Island, New York, and it tells we have Sandy model history, how did the models perform, the best performing models, a Sandy visible satellite movie as it made landfall. We have the HRD analysis from the Hurricane Research Division, the recorded hurricane warning show that I did as the system made landfall. By the way, that is available on the site, the Hurricane Warning Show. Just go to Long Island or Atlantic City, New Jersey in the database, and you can get the Hurricane Warning Show. It's about an hour long. And Sandy caught on film. That's a really interesting film on Hurricane Sandy. All the people that had private video recorders that recorded all the interesting moments of Hurricane Sandy. PBS documentary on Hurricane Sandy. All these can be found in the database under Long Island and or Atlantic City, New Jersey, and Cape May, New Jersey as well, in the Hurricane City database. By the way, those last two films, Sandy Caught on Film and the PBS Hurricane documentary down here, these will be played right before the Hurricane end-of-season broadcast on November 30th on HurricaneCity.tv. We'll have those two playing before the show starts, so tune in for that. All right, let me go ahead and switch sources and show you our zoomed-in tracking map at Hurricane City. It's zoomed in on Seaside Park, New Jersey. And what's interesting, you can zoom in even further on this map, by the way, and see all the destruction on the coast. Now, this was taken a couple of days after Sandy hit. But what's really neat about this map is you can take your own aerial tour by simply dragging the mouse like this and pulling it down to the south, and you can see how it looked before. That's how the area looked before, and then when you let go of the mouse, there's the afterwards destruction caused by Hurricane Sandy. And you'll see a lot of hit and miss destruction up and down the coast, but what you will see is sand everywhere inland for several blocks, as that's how far the surge came inland from Hurricane Sandy. So anyway, that's about it for now. Take the aerial tour, enjoy all the latest features at Hurricane City, and check out that How Big Was Sandy on the How Big page. And again, tune in November 30th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be live along with Bill Phillips, my co-host. We're going to go over Sandy and Isaac this year. Those are the two big stories. We're going to take your phone calls. The phone number will be continually, I'll tell you the phone number during the show, and you can call in. And we hope to hear from the people in the Northeast that were affected by this system. We want to hear your stories on November 30th. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.